Welcome to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Build Your Best Business focuses on the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully start, manage, grow, and eventually exit a business? Today, I'm talking with John Buzzell. He is the president of You Are Here, which is a very interestingly named company. So tell us a little bit about You Are Here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric. It's been a lot of fun being here at Dig South. I'm giving one of 3 talks on virtual reality and augmented reality here during the show, and it's been an increasing topic at these types of conferences because it's starting to affect marketers and training and all different kinds of businesses. Our company realizes that this, immersive technologies, virtual reality and augmented reality is really the next wave of computing, and it's a big, scary topic for a lot of people, so we help them navigate it. We help them build projects that test out theories that they may have about how these technologies can help their business. We try to help them not get disrupted. There's a lot of people that wait around out there for every type of new technology that comes through, and we try to help the people that are not going to wait to be disrupted.
Well, and that reminds me, you and I were talking a little bit about backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been in a lot of startups back in the day where the big company, 10 years in, finally needed to build a website. Right? They hadn't considered that was a thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So tell me about your background. What have you done?
Sure. So I'm probably one of the first digital natives. I'm 46 years old. I got my first computer in 1977 when I was about 6 years old.
Okay.
And have thoroughly learned that I can't break it. Although I have broken some computers.
So what was your first computer?
My first computer was a TRS-80.
I programmed one of those too.
Yeah, it's...
And an Atari 800 XL.
Yeah, excellent. Right on. So I had an Apple II and a TRS-80, and at various times I plugged each of them into my television set, which might have had some wood involved with the TV set. This is kind of the old days.
Yep.
And we did all kinds of things. We hacked into computer systems. We copied games and shared with... this is all well before any of the rules or kind of... ethical guidelines. It was just all fun.
Did you get the I got the magazine that would have the programming in the back.
Yeah, it was Byte magazine. It was 2 inches thick, and you had to type in the programs verbatim in the back of the magazine.
And if you wanted to play a game, it was on video. It was on cassette.
For the Commodore 64,
and
yeah,
you would
absolutely.
load it. So I'd go to dinner and come back and hope the game had loaded at that point.
Yeah, this is the humble
very
beginnings.
Committed.
Yeah. So I got my start doing that, and really loved it so much. I loved the newness of it and how it was, special. It was different than what all my friends were doing, and I felt like I had a lot of control, and there was nobody that could tell me what I could do or should do. It was all just kind of exploration and experimentation. And that's really followed me my entire career. I've always stayed with computers. I've always stayed with what's new about computers, and because it's changed so much, it's allowed me to change a lot. Along the way, I've been doing diskettes, CD-ROM, narrowband internet, broadband internet, social, mobile, and so for the last 6 years, it's been the next stuff. It's been immersive technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, projection mapping, sensors, AI, IoT, all of the new stuff. And so I was really thrilled to come here and share with the Dig South audience how they can prepare their business for what happens after all these screens that we've been looking at for 100 years, because we've kind of reached peak screen.
So you're not I tell people I'm a recovering technologist. So I started my career in technology.
Right.
I ran development shops. I was over those groups, and now I'm more on kind of the marketing, business transformation side. So it's interesting because you've stayed in the waves, because I've ridden so many of them, and
it's
some
important.
of these new ones.
Something that I've learned about you as we've grown to know each other is that you're a connector for people and technology. You help them make sense of it.
Right.
I think there's a lot of technology has been kind of viewed as a priesthood for the last 40 years, where you had to go to somebody and they would interpret for you. And increasingly, I hate to use the word democratization, but this technology has gotten easier, which is great. Because if a tool is hard to use, it doesn't get used enough.
Right.
And so, creative tools, the ability for people to write applications that are not application developers, these are all really important things. So I think the world still needs people like us that can help people demystify the tech, get over their fears or intimidations, and show them how this stuff can really transform their business or even their lives in some ways. But yeah, it's a fun gig, and I'm glad that I'm still useful.
Well, and one last kind of historical story, and then I'll move on to kind of present day stuff. But I was working with a company a couple months ago. They needed to implement an inventory system for their warehouse, and the thing was $11,000. for the year. The license agreement
Right.
was 11 grand. And the guy
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, should I spend 11? I said, dude, I built one for like 3 million back in the 90s. Like,
Right.
sign on the dotted line. So much of the technology is so much more approachable. And it's really about putting the things together, right? You know, there's knowing how to take the tools off the shelf like you would in a Home Depot and make them work. So
Right.
as we start to think about, and you may have to, and I know you've given this definition before, but I don't think it could be given enough, like the differences
Sure.
between augmented reality, virtual reality,
Sure.
you know, those kind of things, because that's where business owners often get stuck.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
I think a lot of people are overwhelmed right now at the number of different technologies that are out there that everybody's clamoring for them to pay attention to. You know, we look at it and we see artificial intelligence as a way of a computer helping you anticipate and make good decisions. We look at cloud computing as a method for saving everything that you do and using it for future experiences. We look at IoT as the ability to take mundane objects and connect them to everything else you do. We look at machine learning, the way of teaching computers how to recognize the world and help you make better decisions with these other technologies. And then we look at AR and VR. And AR and VR are unique in the fact that they're the only one out of all of those tech trends that are actually visual. So although we've been looking at screens as a culture or a community for 120-something years, dating back to the first film, movie theater, what have you, computing is popping up everywhere now, and it's become immersive, it's become pervasive. And if you listen to all the tech giants, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, what have you, they're all saying the same sort of thing, which is this is what's next.
Yeah.
This comes after the smartphone. And so we look at these technologies where the computing blends the physical and the digital as a means of taking all of the smarts of computing, all the intelligence that it can bring with you into the real world.
Right.
It's funny that we live in a 3D world and we've been staring at these 2D screens
Forever.
for a long time.
Yeah.
There are orthopedists that complain that people have wrecked their necks from looking at smartphones. The average person looks at a smartphone 90 times a day or something like that.
Yeah.
I probably over-index a little on there.
I do too.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so VR and AR are different. So let's start there. So virtual reality has been around for a long time. The medical community, the military, certainly universities have been using it as a means to do simulations or to transport to people, give them different experiences. And it's like a magical blindfold that you are completely immersed. Everything that you see and probably everything that you hear is computer generated in some way. And it's really great at closing what I like to call the experience gap. We did a project for Carnival Cruise Lines, which is, they have a unique problem because you really can't try out a cruise. Either you're going or you're not going.
Right.
So the ability, and this is years ago, but the ability to have somebody be on a cruise ship, be in the staterooms, be in the dining room, be on the balcony, virtual reality can do that in a way that TV or radio, great mediums, really can't do the same way.
Well, and walking through some of the examples I've seen you talk about too, or, being able to walk through a space as it's being built out, or, that kind of thing. And there's so much value in that because you'll
absolutely.
put something together and you're like, really? Like we just redid our basement in our house, 1,200 square feet.
Right.
A couple of decisions we would have made differently if there had been a way for us to sort of experience the space prior to doing it, and that's a much cheaper way than putting the drywall on.
Certainly. I mean, once you start hammering those nails, laying the drywall, painting the walls, you're committed. And VR is an amazing way to go try it out. They use it for training. They use it for visualization. Our sister agency builds a lot of trade show booths, and we let our clients walk through the booths before the first screw is twisted, so that they get a sense of, oh, this is too high. Oh, this is bigger than I thought it would be.
I didn't think it would look like this.
And they save hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, not only on the build, but on how people are going to perceive it. So that's virtual reality, is this magical blindfold that takes you someplace else. A lot of people these days have been talking about augmented reality, and it's different. If VR takes you someplace else, AR makes here better. And what I mean by that is whether you're looking at a phone, or in some cases people even have special glasses that they wear that put the graphics right in front of their eyes, it brings some of the smarts of a computer into the real world. It can show you the right way to go down a path. It can show you where the plumbing in a new construction will be as you walk through the building with your team. It can show you what a car might look like in your driveway that you're considering, or a watch on your wrist, or a KitchenAid mixer on your countertop.
Right.
So it integrates a little bit of digital into the real world. So those are the two main kinds of technology that we focus on. Of course, there's lots of other ways to immerse people. You can use all the different senses. We use projection and sensors and all kinds of stuff. But the core of this is that computers have broken free of these glowing rectangles, and they're starting to inhabit the real world in a way that we're used to, outside, on a street corner, just a little bit, inside your car, at your workplace. You don't have to stare at a rectangle anymore to interact with computers.
And so, question on that, because like augmented reality, so Google Glass, would that be considered, is that a thing anymore?
So yes, it is, but kind of despite itself.
Yeah.
So when Google, and they do a lot of great experiments at Google, but the Google Glass thing was kind of an oddity because they marketed it backwards. For people that don't know, Google Glass was this phenomenon, 4 or 5 years ago, where you had what amounted to like a pair of those Oakley sunglasses with a big plastic windscreen, and then a little tiny computer screen up in the upper left-hand corner of your view, and you could touch it, slightly on the temple to adjust it. You could speak to it, and it would give you a little bit of information. And the reason I said they marketed it backwards is instead of going to emergency medical technicians or lawyers or first responders, teachers, doctors, whatever, they went to developers, and developers said, well, this is kind of cool, but I don't have any urgency. What am I supposed to do with this?
No compelling event.
So, right, there are so many people that could have used that technology, but they went to the developers first, and I think that was backwards. So the reason it's survived, though, is because it does have very good use for first responders, for stock pickers in a warehouse, for people on the manufacturing floor. There's a company in Georgia called AGCO. It's an international agricultural company, and they made news recently saying that they'd achieved something like 3 or 4% efficiency and fewer accidents, better safety on the floor, because their team is constantly getting the next step laid out in front of their eyes. So rather than kind of scratching their head or thumbing through a manual or going to look for Jeff to say, what do I do here? They just know because Google Glass is telling them. So there's a whole category of smart glasses from companies like Google, of course, and Vuzix and RealWear. There's a lot of these companies out there that are helping primarily industrial customers assist people at the job site.
Very cool.